Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm Brett Davis. Joining me today is the Center Square's Eastern Washington reporter, Timothy Schumann. You recently authored a piece headlined $62.5 million carbon auction sells out, totaling $919.5 million year to date. Now, this is a reference to the carbon auction as part of Washington's cap and trade program that requires emitters to obtain emissions allowances equal to their covered greenhouse gas emissions. It's akin to stocks and bonds in that these allowances can be obtained through quarterly auctions hosted by the Department of Ecology. But this most recent auction, however, was a special auction apart from the regular quarterly auctions. What's different about this auction?
Yeah, so this auction is called the Allowance Price Cap Reserve Auction. And what the purpose of this auction is to actually keep the price down, ostensibly. And we're trying to do that by putting a certain percentage of the credits from the entirety of the 7-year plan, in this case 5%, into a reserve pool that could be auctioned off if the price went too high and reached a trigger price, which it did at the second quarterly auction, I believe last May.
All right. Now, this $62.5 million figure is the result of all of the share selling. Is that correct? Can you break that down for us a little?
That is the preliminary results that were released this Wednesday. They won't actually be verified until the money hits the state's account next week. But yes, it appears that all like 1.1 million shares roughly sold at their respective price tiers. And there was two price tiers, one in the mid $50, one in the mid $60. And both of those tiers sold out, which is kind of unsurprising.
Now, you actually did some math and you added up the figures from the first two regular quarterly auctions and this one, and it's a rather large number. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it came out to just under $920 million, I believe. And that number is surprising because if you take that and average it out through this year, it comes out to roughly like $4.03 million per day in additional carbon tax.
Now, you had mentioned earlier this is meant to bring prices down, but in another respect, it seems to be causing prices to go up, as in gas prices. I understand some people are mentioning that. Can you delve into what people are saying about that, or at least some people?
Yeah, so Washington State already has the fourth highest gas tax in the nation. I believe it is California, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and then Washington. That is exclusive of this carbon tax. It's not counted as a tax because it is, seen as a secondary market that is a fee towards the producers of these emissions. So it's not a direct tax, and thus it doesn't show up in your gas tax figures at the pump. At this point, certain policy experts believe that indirect carbon tax is actually 10 to 20% higher than our direct gas tax, which is already, like I said, the fourth highest in the nation.
So piling on, as it were.
And as you said, this auction is supposed to keep the price of these carbon credits down. However, what we've seen is that some unique properties of these credits have actually made them almost more valuable than the regular credits at the regular quarterly auctions.
I guess I just don't see how this carbon tax, which makes companies pay more for their emissions, I don't see how they wouldn't pass it on to consumers, but maybe that's just me.
They kind of have to stay in business, right? Your expenses have to be less than your income. And so if this is coming up as an expense side on, any oil company or emitting business's balance sheet, obviously they have to balance it on the income side. And that income has to come from somewhere. And to date, we've seen they've been just passing that on to the consumer.
Does Washington have overall gas prices? Were we number 2 in the nation right now, just in terms of total gas prices?
Washington's currently second to California, and we recently passed $5 a gallon average statewide, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Now, as I understand it, there's another of these quarterly carbon auctions coming up later this month. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in 2 weeks, there is the third quarterly auction. Partial bids are already part of the bidding process has already taken place in terms of people have to be pre-qualified and they have to put their initial bids in. But all of the bids aren't going to be tabulated until, I believe it's the 30th of August.
Well, we look forward to your continued coverage of this ongoing issue. Thank you so much. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For Timothy Schumann, this is Brett Davis. Please subscribe and thanks for listening.